The crazy reason I chose a Street Glide over any other motorcycle.
Oh yeah.
I'm also going to cover some negatives, what's gone wrong with the bike, and what I don't like about the bike. Hi, my name's Eamon. Welcome to the channel. Check out the website, oldnotdead.club. There's some great supporter gear there. If you like the channel, if you like what I'm doing, grab a sticker or a patch or a t-shirt, help the channel out, and let's get into it. Now, which bike to choose can be a dilemma for some people. If you think I'm a Harley fanboy and don't know anything else, wrong. I've owned countless motorcycles over the years. Besides Harleys, predominantly Kawasaki sports bikes and sports tourers, and a few different ones here and there over the years. I've currently got an M8 114 Street Glide Special. Craziest reason led me to choose a Street Glide, and I haven't looked back since. One of the main reasons I picked this particular Street Glide over any other motorcycle is the engine. That's the Milwaukee 8 114 cubic inch engine that the newer model Harleys have got. First of all, the Harley engines are very high in torque, and that makes them very easy and enjoyable to ride. It actually makes them a fun and relaxing ride. The M8 114 actually gives you a great starting point in terms of power and torque. In stock form, you get about 90 horsepower and 110 to 115 foot-pounds of torque. When you see these power and torque figures, they can be a little bit rubbery or elastic, vague. The reason is there are different ways to measure this. Some people measure it at the crank, some people measure it at the rear wheel, and it's not always obvious how they've measured it. I believe on a dyno, it actually matters which gear the run is done in, what was the temperature, what was the altitude, and there are other intricacies that I'm sure a dyno expert would fill us in on. If you're a mechanic or a dyno expert, let us know what's happening in the comments. Personally, I think the seat of the pants dyno is actually always the best, because if it feels good and it feels acceptable and it feels fun, that's usually good enough. So I say ride your bike, then ride a more powerful bike. What's the difference? You'll see what the possibilities are, but more importantly, you can make the decision, do you want that? Do you need that? Are you willing to pay the extra for that? Because it's diminishing returns. You get a lot of extra power for not that much extra money and effort. But then if you want just a little tiny bit more power, you've got to pay an enormous, or relatively speaking, a larger amount of money. Now, I'm saying that the later model Harleys are a good starting point because I like a little bit of punch and pep to my motorcycles. I don't need a crazy lightweight thing that's got 200 plus horsepower. I need some pep and I need some throttle response. And I like the engine to be able to wind up more than a standard Harley does. The later model Harleys have much more pep than the older ones, like the twin cams and the Evos. So in my view, it means you don't need to spend as much making them go harder. The standard 110 or 115 foot-pounds of torque that a current model 114 has is probably better than most of the stage 4 twin cams that were going around, although the older stage 4 bikes feel faster because of that crisp throttle response you get when you hot up an engine. So even though I think that a seat of the pants dyno is the best way to determine what's right for you, it's not accurate because a crisp response feels faster and a bike with a fairing and less wind feels like it's going slower. On my bike, I've modified it with a high-flow air cleaner, header pipes, mufflers, cam, and a tuner. I have an aftermarket non-Harley tune, which is a lot more aggressive than a dealer tune. I've ridden a couple of 131s now that are Harley tuned. They're great bikes, no doubt about it, but let's just say I'm happy with mine. Now, I often say that you have to hot up your Harley engine, but that's just personal taste. I know plenty of people who ride really, really hard and they've got almost stock standard Harleys. They can outride most people that have got tricked up Harleys. Sure, Harleys without a fairing can look great, better, sensational, but having had plenty of Harleys without a fairing, I doubt very much that I would ever go back unless it was for a second bike, maybe if I had a bar hopper or something. When I looked at the type of riding that I was actually doing, it was mainly head towards the city and go somewhere, which meant jumping on a long freeway and riding at a decent pace, or it was head away from the city and go on a long ride, which meant jumping on the open road, riding for a long time at a decent pace. So riding hard on a Fat Boy or other Harley without a fairing meant I was getting tired quite quickly from all the wind buffeting. Sports bikes were too uncomfortable. I was too cramped up and aggro even before I got to the twisties, so the Harley touring range was actually ideal. The fairing is sensational if you want to ride hard for long distances. I can't stress this enough. There's also a stereo and GPS. I've never used the stereo personally. I like the sound of the engine. I usually use the GPS on my phone, which plugs straight into the Street Glide system. Google Maps works better than the Harley maps. I see this as an added bonus on a motorcycle. You don't have to stop and look up directions anymore. It's seamless. It's very easy to get to a destination when you don't know what you're going. It's all there on a screen in front of you. It's a crazy reason, but I always remember many moons ago, sometimes I'd have to take my car to work. I'd be stuck in peak hour traffic on the freeway. I saw this cool looking dude split the traffic like a demon on this very tough looking bike. It was denim black. It had a great looking Velocity Stack air cleaner like I had on my Fat Boy at the time. I had no idea what type of Harley it was because I had ignored the touring bikes like the plague. I went around to all the dealers searching for it. It turned out to be a Street Glide and I was hooked. I finally got my first Street Glide in 2016. A few very minor things have gone wrong with the bike. The tender on these newer bikes is now in the loom, not direct from the battery to the plug. And of course mine stopped working but intermittently, which is a pain in the butt. So being an intermittent fault, you'd think it's a loose wire or a pinched wire. And an easy solution to that problem is to buy a tender wire, whatever it's called, and attach it from the battery and out to your charging device, which is what I've done. I started the bike up. It usually takes a couple of seconds for the GPS to kick in and work, but on this occasion, it wouldn't turn on. The ride I was doing that day was probably 70 kilometers there, 70 kilometers back, and the whole time the GPS would not turn on. I actually stopped a couple of times to turn the bike off and back on. That didn't fix the problem. So I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna have to go to the dealer tomorrow. Well, of course, the next day when I turned the bike on, everything was working fine and it's had no problems ever since. Gremlins. Now the third problem is for some weird reason, I keep losing the plastic retaining clip that holds the nut underneath the rear fender for the seat retaining bolt. It's almost like every time I take my seat off or every time I look at the seat, it's gone. I don't know why it's happening on this bike. It's never happened on any other Harley. If you know why, let me know in the comments. So it's not really a problem, it's just absolutely annoying because to fix that, you've got to go get fishing line and attach the nut to it and thread it back through the fender and fiddle around. And it's just a pain in the butt. One of the most fun and best bikes I've ever owned. Don't forget to check out the website. We have some great supporter gear. Get yourself a t-shirt, a sticker or a patch. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, fit and healthy, and I'll see you on the next video.